had to understand how a cartoon family from Brisbane could redefine an entire TV genre and change people's lives by telling stories in 7-minute episodes. It was time to get on a plane, and I headed down under. We're here in Brisbane. This is my first coffee. I just asked for an iced coffee, and they were like, ice with cream. And I'm like, yeah, like I thought that'd be like half and half in my iced coffee. This is what I got, this concoction. For my first stop, I headed to the home of a journalist who has written multiple stories about my new favorite show. Dan is a digital reporter with ABC Australia, the same network that airs Bluey. He describes himself as a bandit because he has 2 daughters nearly identical in age to Bluey and her sister Bingo. What motivated you to say, I want to try to be Bandit? Like, tell me, who is Bandit to you, and what does he do?
I realized there was a bit of a buzz happening around Bluey, and I thought, okay, I'm going to check this out. It's not about princesses or, like robots or, things that transform or what. It's just about like everyday life. Like they're not relying on a gimmick. It's just kids playing, adults, parents and kids interacting, and that's why it's so fun to watch, because you see situations that you've been through. You see like kids reacting in ways that that real kids react. Bandit just says yes to everything. He's on his way to work, the kids want to play with him, he just drops what he's doing and plays with the kids. And like, you kind of feel a little inadequate when you're watching it, because you think, I can't do that. I try and play with my kids, but if I've got to go to work, I've got to go to work, and I feel bad about it. And some afternoons I get home late and I don't see them. So you're watching it, and he's like this ideal dad. He's kind of what people are aiming for these days. But at times you feel like, a little guilty that I'm not quite living up to that ideal of Bandit.
I was introduced to Dan after reading one of his articles where he tried to act like Bandit for 24 hours, totally immersing himself in every request his girls asked.
I'm not taking advice from a cartoon dog.
The idea of the article was to kind of reassure parents that they're doing okay. So basically I attempted to be like Bandit and say yes to the girls all day. So everything they wanted to do, I'd say, yep, let's do it. Yes, let's do it. I didn't say no. They wanted to go for a baby chino in the morning. We went and had a baby chino. They wanted to go to the park. Went to the park. Normally I'd
yes
say,
to everything.
Yes to everything. Normally I'd say, all right, time to go home now. I didn't. I let them decide when it was time to go home. It was an exhausting day. It was mayhem. I also noticed it became very meandering. It was like, there was, I think sometimes they need limits. Basically, the point was to prove that no human dad or parent can live up to what Bandit's doing. But that's not the point. The point is, that's a kind of idealized version. Right. As some of the people from the show told me, he's a dog. We're humans, we can't keep up with dogs. They're hyperactive, they're crazy. So it's not that we're supposed to be keeping up with Bandit. We're it's good enough to be doing our best, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I always looked at it like, it's like, can you be Bandit for 7 minutes? Because that's all he is.
Definitely, and that was the idea of the article. It was to say, don't feel guilty that you're not living up to Bandit standards, but use Bandit as something, you want to aspire to. And that was one of my big takeaways from the article is to talk to a child psychologist, and she said, no, just do it for 20 minutes a day. Just give them your attention, even less than that, a few times a week. Just let them lead the games, let them lead the play, and the kids are more than happy with that.
Would you say then Bandit is a role model for dads here or anywhere in the world?
Definitely. Bandit has become the sort of the quintessential dad that on television. 20 years ago it might have been Homer Simpson, or it might have been Fred Flintstone at one stage, but Bandit, at least in Australia, is the typical dad. It's what you think of as a dad. He's the closest to reality that we have, and including for real life shows. This is an animated dog. It's so close to real life that's why, every dad I know loves watching it, and they can relate to Bandit. And he feels like, he does feel like a role model that we aspire to, but don't necessarily keep up with. But it's a realistic role model. It's not some ridiculous fantasy that's been concocted. It's real life.
Who comes to mind when you think of a dad? Historically, they've been providing financially, putting food on the kitchen table.
Growing up, my dad was missing the real family time, and now that I'm a father, old rules feel incomplete. Between important discussions about toxic masculinity and gender roles, defining good fatherhood has never been more complex. I'm Joe Gidjunis, and I'm trying to figure this out. Join me as I travel across the United States and the rest of the world to discover how good dads are making big changes.